We're live. Hello everyone, we're live. So welcome to Streams of Collective Consciousness. Hope everyone is doing well. If you're not familiar with the live stream, basically it is a live stream on sustainable fashion news, environmental news, and social justice news. And I go live every Tuesday and every Friday. Super excited to be here this Friday night. There's a lot of things happening in the world right now, especially with immigration, especially with the incoming president of the United States, Donald Trump, and his changes to the law and his ambitions. And then there's just a lot of fashion shows right now happening all over. So we'll explore some of that. I'll be only here for like 2 hours. Let me just check the audio and then we'll get started right now. Okay. Okay, the audio is good. I just checked right now, so super happy about that. I'll continue checking on the audio. Hopefully I get some mic situations happening. I have to figure out the inputs and outputs, and I'm just functioning out of a laptop instead of a PC system. Also, just fair warning, I may end the live stream a bit earlier today just because I'm not feeling the best. I was taking a nap actually right before this, and I then scratched my cheek and I have like a red mark right here and it's really bothering me. It sounds so meaningless once I say it out loud, but it's just like bothering me. I keep looking at it and it keeps bleeding too. I have a bleeding little injury because I like woke up and I like went like this and it scratched my cheek and it went in and like cut my skin deeply, so I have a little gash and I'm trying to cover it with concealer and foundation and all that stuff, but it keeps bleeding and it shows through. So if you can see it, don't pay attention to it. It's just I may be bleeding a bit. But yeah, welcome to the stream. If you guys don't know how this runs, basically I'm here for like 2.5 hours. On Tuesdays I stream from 7 to 9:30 Central Time. I have a full-time job, so I'm not able to do any other times. And then Fridays I go from 6 to 8:30 just for a bit. Hopefully the news is to cover sustainable fashion news in the beginning and then look at videos, community submissions, any other general news around social issues, environmentalism, and positive news later on throughout the stream. And then later on we'll do like more fun stuff, trying to figure out fashion gaming, so that will come soon enough. But if you guys ever see any news that you want to submit, if you ever see anything interesting, you can go to the community submissions forum and fill that out, and I'll take a look at it every week. And the link will be in the description so you can look and fill that out if you ever want me to cover anything, and I'll shout you out if you want. And this deck will be also in the description, so if you want to look back at it or I don't know, just support me by taking a look at it, feel free. Like all the links to the Slack channel, how to volunteer to become a sustainable fashion writer, how to, sign up for the Substack newsletter I have is all there. And these are just more ways you can support, like eBay and stuff. So if you just want to look at that, if you're curious, you can always feel free to do that. But there is a lot of things that I want to cover today just because there is a lot of initiatives being done in the form of, I guess, social washing or greenwashing, where like fast fashion brands want to come off a certain way in midst of all the chaos that is happening in the industry. And one of those things has been the recent announcement that Shein will launch a charitable foundation, which I find quite literally disgusting given how horrible they are. I was actually surprised to see this article. It's by Fashion Dive. If you guys ever want like a good place to get fashion news that's consistent and free and is not blocked behind ads or subscriptions, like I know some magazines make you put in your email to access the article and then you can only read like 3 articles a month or whatever. This is not it. Like Fashion Dive is such a good place for like neutral good fashion journalism, and if you sign up to get their like email notifications, it's so consistent. You'll be so updated, and it's not like they're selling something to you on a constant basis. And I've been keeping up with what's happening in the fashion industry through them a lot. I'm super, super, super grateful that I found this place. It was just random how I found them. But yeah, basically, they made an article explaining how Shein is now making a non-profit basically, and it has given a 5.2 million grant to the Africa Collect Textiles Foundation. And then this is the Shein Center of Innovation for Garment Manufacturing. I think this is where the philanthropic arm of what they're doing will be based out of. I haven't really read the article. And just for you guys to know, like, I never read anything beforehand. I just kind of like skim the title and skim the thought of what the article's about and then cover it here. So I myself don't even know. But basically, the article says that Shein has launched a charitable arm called the Shein Foundation, which is designed to foster inclusive and sustainable communities and regions where the fast fashion company operates, according to a press release Friday. The nonprofit's first grant is a €5 million donation, or about $5.2 million, to the Africa Collect Textiles Foundation for its used textile and collecting recycling program in Kenya. The establishment of the Shein Foundation adds to the fast fashion giant's previous donations, about $26 million between 2021 and 2024, according to the release. Those grants primarily focused on social and environmental initiatives. So it seems like they've been doing like philanthropic things in the past. It's just it's more formalized now under this thing called the Shein Foundation. Dive insight. The Shein Foundation will focus on 3 primary areas: improving lives in communities, protecting biodiversity, and advancing sustainable change, per the release. I think it's not necessary to make a philanthropic arm to their brand. I think they could fix the issues in the fashion industry by paying their workers a fair living wage, and also just making sustainable an inherent part of their brand. But they're not. They're just doing this like charitable thing to seem like they care, but like inherently their business is not it. It's not like actually doing anything to help anyone. So I feel like this is just a way to be like, hey guys, we're actually doing something, but they'll continue with their insidious like fast fashion production to cover everything else up. And then the article continues to explain that the company said its previous charitable contributions focused on these areas as well, including the 2022 launch of the Extended Producer Responsibility Fund and a 2023 grant that boosted education opportunities in Singapore, among other communities. Last year, donated $430,000 to 6 Dress for Success affiliates in the US, UK, Italy, and Singapore, which provides clothes and support to underemployed women looking for jobs, which is quite interesting to think about. I was just checking the audio. I'm just kind of paranoid with the audio. But let's go back to the article. It says Donald Tang, Shein's executive chairman, said in a release that organizing the company's charitable efforts in a foundation brings greater accountability and transparency to its donations. I'm not quite sure about this statement. I don't know how accounting works within the fashion industry. I don't know if they get any like extra benefits or like things for documenting their documentations. But I feel like I don't really trust their claim that it's for greater accountability and transparency. I just think maybe it's for documentation purposes. Like, I know when individuals donate something, they get something back in taxes. So I'm not sure if that's how it works for brands as well. Like, they get something positive back if they donate, like either compensation or like something in return for their donations in a more formalized, documented way. I wouldn't know. But he continues to explain that empowering and giving back to the communities we reach has always been a core to our operating philosophy. This also strengthens our ability to direct our charitable giving in a more impactful and sustained manner to better support causes and organizations that align with our values. this is just like PR, I feel like I don't really believe what Donald is saying. I think he's just saying very pretty words to be like, hey, we're actually doing good. And like, look at us, like we're giving money to like the Africa Collect Textiles Foundation, for example. And like, hey, like we're supporting textile donations, we're supporting post-consumer recycling. But I mean, as we've seen in like the recent situation with the Cantamanto market, which is the second largest secondhand market ever in the world, there was a fire incident and it destroyed a lot of it. It's just these markets and often like practices of handling textile donations and secondhand clothing is often very chaotic. So I feel like this grant towards these organizations is the start of like promoting better textile donations, given like the chaos of other situations. But I think there also needs to be more of like the holistic collective pursuit of change, and that's really not happening right now. But this could be a good start. It is something, but in the midst of everything else and what Shein is responsible for in the fast fashion industry, it just feels almost hypocritical or ironic to want to support this. And then the article continues to explain that the ACT Foundation, so this is planning to install and drop-off points to facilitate used clothing donations and create jobs for the collectors, sorters, artisans who upcycle textile waste. Shein said this grant is consistent with its previous EPR fund goals. The thing is, I feel like this also captures another thing I was thinking about. The article says developing a philanthropic arm is another step Shein is taking to diversify its reach. So I feel like this move will also immerse themselves even more into the secondhand markets across the world than ever before. And they are like right now pushing forward to be more in more places in more people's hands. So for example, like I myself made a video of how Shein released its first credit card that specifically was aimed for Mexican consumers. And that just kind of shows that they really just want to tap into as many people as possible in so many different ways. And I just feel like philanthropy is just another way to be like, hey, we're good, like support us, and also still be in different locations like Kenya, but in a different sort of way. But they're still promoting their brand inherently by having their name on solutions or alternatives. Like their name will still be recirculated and regurgitated, and it can still promote the consumption of their goods despite them trying to like reduce textile waste. So yeah. Oh, the article also says that they partnered with JCPenney. I didn't know that. And a partnership with Forever 21, so they will distribute each other's products. Yeah, this is what I'm saying. Like, they just want to be in every single pocket and every single place, no matter what. To be fair, they're very good at reaching out and putting their hands in. They're very good at entrenching themselves in the fashion industry in all senses. So I'm kind of curious to see if there's a website for the Shein Foundation. Yeah, January 17th was released about 7 days ago. What is this logo? Is there an Instagram for this? No, it's just part of the general Shein. The Shein Foundation. It says protecting the environment, supporting the community. This is just not, we just don't really need this in the face of everything else, but they're just going to continue acting like they're the ones that are in the right and make it seem like they actually care. So, but do they really care about addressing the issues in the fast fashion industry? Probably not. Another interesting thing that I saw was an article by Vogue Business, basically covering how Trump's executive orders will affect climate and what that'll mean for fashion. Today I'm not doing robot voice, by the way. I think it's kind of creepy. I was listening back to the past live streams and I just don't like how they sound. So I'll continue to read until I get tired and then I'll see what we'll do from there. But I'm fine right now not using robot voice. I also don't want to use AI tools to read the articles. That's just like not necessary. Basically, the article says they risk derailing fashion sustainability goals, deepening reliance on fossil fuels, and disrupting global supply chains. Can global efforts and private sector resilience prevail? By Jessica Binns, released January 23rd. So let me check the audio right now, and then we'll get into the article. Okay. Yeah, we're good. So it says on January 20, his first day in office, President Donald Trump withdrew the U.S. from the Paris Agreement. I hate that. I hate how he did that to us. Declared a national energy emergency. When I heard him say this, I was really in shock because I was like, what is he talking about? Like, why is this man saying a national energy emergency? Because at first I was like, oh, he said a national climate emergency, like we're all saying that we need to call. And this man did the exact opposite. But I shouldn't be surprised. Also, guys, I keep myself in a small corner. I should make myself a little bit bigger because you cannot see me, can you? Okay. Is my camera a bit better? I'm like so small in the corner. You can see my mess. So let me reduce and zoom. I think that's a bit better. I have like things to clean my cheek. I was bleeding for a second. Okay. That's another tangent that I'm not going to get into again. Let me get myself a little bit bigger. Yeah, I think we're good right there. Okay, so back to the article. It says he also is expediting the permitting process for oil, gas, and power infrastructure projects. Boo. I don't like this. I don't like this at all. And proposed the loosening of emission regulations through executive orders. Together, these moves represent a seismic U.S. policy shift with profound implications for the fashion industry, threatening to derail progress on climate goals and deepen reliance on fossil fuels and disrupt global trade dynamics. The Trump-Paris Agreement pullout marks a major setback for climate efforts, says Julia, president of the United States fashion industry. The international treaty signed in 2016 aims to limit global warming to below 2 Celsius with ambitions to 1.5. Is that Celsius, the C thing? By achieving net zero emissions by mid-century. For the fashion industry, the U.S. withdrawal, its second, Trump withdrew in 2020 before Biden administration rejoined in 2021. Complicates the path to net zero emission goals. This was something that I was talking about in my last live stream about how a lot of brands have net zero emission goals, and the sole purpose of sustainability managers is to help these brands accomplish their net zero emission goals that are set to be achieved like in 2040. And I was saying how, one, those goals are very ambitious, and two, it's going to be delayed because of Trump and his call for a freaking national energy emergency. So I feel like for most fashion brands, whether they're sustainable brands or fast fashion brands, their goals to reach like that net zero thing is just going to take longer. So I don't even think by 2040 we'll be halfway there to their goals. Like I think it'll take 2050 or 2060 to get brands to barely be reaching net zero emission goals. And I think it may be harder or maybe even more impossible to dream that into existence when we have a president that will do so much changes within the next 4 years. But I'm still optimistic that, you know, change makers and fashion brands like sustainability managers, ESG initiatives continue to get stronger and better and just get more energy despite how he is treading. But I can't read the rest of the article just because it's under like a member block thing. So that's just something to think about. Hopefully Vogue Business doesn't continue to put the articles behind a paywall, because I'm not going to pay. But I get it. They need to pay their journalists, but I don't have the money to do that. And then one of the articles that I came across today that I found interesting is that UGG's aggressive trademark strategy and the role of cultural sustainability is being discussed by the Fashion Law, which is another great organization that I love seeing. So basically it says the Australian-owned brand UGG since 1974 has announced it will change its name to Since 74 for sales outside of Australia and New Zealand. The news comes amid a long-running, globally reaching trademark battle over the rights to the name UGG to sell the iconic ... the iconic boot, it seems like. The iconic sheepskin boots to which the name commonly refers. More specifically, UGG since 1974's decision to change its name follows from years of legal challenges between small Australian manufacturers and Deckers Brands, the American footwear giant that owns UGG. Interesting. But the word UGG can be used by brands in Australia and New Zealand, where it became a generic name for sheepskin boots. Deckers maintained the right to use the UGG trademark on footwear in many countries across the globe. It is now pursuing UGG since 1974 for using the name. UGG since 1974 is an established maker of a specific style of sheepskin boots, and in fact, in existence, I lost my place. Predates the establishment of the Deckers' own brand, and by a few years. But locally, UGGs are made and advertised as UGGs by many small Australian manufacturers. I didn't know that. I didn't know that that was just like a general name for a boot, not like a... It wasn't just like a brand name. I just thought it was like a brand name for the boot instead of like an actual term. The origins of UGGs. UGG boots are widely understood to be invented in Australia. I remember when the UGG boots were so popular when I was in high school. I went to high school from like 2012 to 2015. I graduated in 2015. No, okay, so 2011 to 2015 was when UGGs were like so popular. And I remember they were like $80 to $100 within that range. And one, I come from a low income, like frontline community, Mexican American, like my parents work in factories. So to have UGGs was just like not within my landscape whatsoever. And second, they were ugly. Like even if I did want them, like why would I like them? They were just ugly, you know? Like they were not aesthetic. They just made your feet look big. Kind of reminds me of those red boots that are popular in TikTok right now. I should pull it up. It's like those red big boots. The clown boots. I don't know what they're called. It kind of reminds me of like a luxury. Yeah, it's like these. It kind of reminds me of these boots. Like UGGs made me feel like I was wearing these sort of boots. Like it was just like not it for me. I didn't want to wear big heavy boots. Also, I lived and I still live in the Midwest. And if you know anything about the winters, it's just cold, it's wet, there's snow, it's sleet. Those UGG boots will never survive in the Midwest. So everyone's beautiful UGGs just turned so ugly after a couple weeks. So it just didn't seem like a good investment. So I've never been a supporter of UGGs. So it's interesting to see how like they've been in and around since like years, like since the 50s and the 70s, like the 80s. Like this was just a term for these boots in Australia. And I had no idea. I just felt like it came out of nowhere in the 2000s and 2010s. And it just, they left afterwards. Like after 2016 when I went to college, they weren't that popular. And then they've been resurfacing like UGGs. New concept of the shoe, like the slip-in boot, has recently been coming in with like younger, more college white kids sort of thing. And it's just, I don't really like it, but I've never been a fan. I don't really get why you would want to wear such delicate shoes. But I had no idea that they were like in a trademark infringement case against the actual word or like term. So this is sort of like the law I would want to pursue if I ever pursued law. I would want to do like fashion law. I think infringement cases and like intellectual property is such an interesting thing because like who actually owns something? Because the brand UGG just could say we're stealing a term, but like can you steal a term? I don't know. And I like how this explains that in March 2016, Deckers argued that American consumers do not recognize UGG as a descriptive term and instead view the word as an indicator of source. Yeah, I had no idea that it was like actually a term. I just thought it was just a brand. It was just like a product, you know? The David versus Goliath case is an example of the lengths that brands will go to prevent their trademarks from becoming generic and can be quite extreme. Another notable example is Chanel, which took out a full-page advertisement in Women's Wear Daily in 2010 that threatened legal action against journalists who used terms like Chanel is me, Chanel Ed, Chanel's, and Chanel sized to describe other designers' work. What makes Deckers' aggressive trademark enforcement particularly interesting is that it is claiming far-reaching trademark rights in a term that was already generic to its country of origin. This has caused some to question whether trademark rights should be granted in the first place. Yeah, I would love to know that question too. Fashion law is so interesting. And then the article continues to say their actions against smaller Australian brands also appear to contradict their carefully cultivated brand image. The company's website and code of ethics promotes values like authenticity and cultural engagement, stating the company exists to positively impact the world by uniting purposeful brands with diverse people. When I was in college, actually, when I was like 18 or 19, I thought that UGG was a good company. I thought it was like an example of a culturally sensitive or like sustainable brand, and I respected them for their values and for the ethics. I remember reading their ethics page and I was like, wow, like they're cool, they're good people, you know? But now that I think about it, like what is actually the company, like I just kind of took the brand at surface level, maybe because it was popular for such a long time. But the article says, in many senses, Deckers does maintain impressive standards of corporate social responsibility and holds itself to high standards. When it comes to the UGG trademark, the company appears to be looking to monopolize a term that has become deeply embedded in Australian culture and consumers have noticed. It says, look no further than its clash with UGG since 1974, for example, which has generated backlash. A TikTok post from UGG since 1974 that details UGG's lawsuit received 1.1 million likes and a lot of shares. I'm not logged in, people. You guys want to watch the video? Let me see how to pull it up. Uh-oh, that's my Facebook. Guys, don't stalk me. It's too late. Wait.
Hi guys, I'm Todd from
Nope.
We're being sued by Deckers Outdoor Corporation. Hi guys, I'm Todd from UGG since 1974. And we've got something really important to share with you guys. We're being sued by Deckers Outdoor Corporation. Deckers Outdoor Corporation is the UGG brand with the big G in the middle of the word UGG. So here's the situation. We've been proudly making Australian boots for over 5 decades and 3 generations. And we also own the trademark here in Australia and New Zealand, where the boots originated, where UGG boots originated. But the Deckers lawsuit has made it hard to share our story and our boots with everyone else within the world. It's extremely hard to fight a lawsuit against a multi-billion-dollar company, especially as a family-owned, Australian-made business. Now, due to this scenario, we've decided to transition our brand to since 74. In Australia and New Zealand, we will always, forever, be UGG since 1974. But for those boots leaving our borders and heading over to you guys overseas, we will transition our brand to since 74. Nothing else changes. Now, this brand doesn't change who we are, what we believe in. Our roots are still the same. Our quality is still the same. The product is still the same. And more importantly, our story is still the same. We are the original, and we will still be the original no matter what our label says on the back of our boots. Your support means everything to us. Every like, every comment, every share helps us amplify our voice, and it shows a small business like ours can stand tall even in the face of challenges like this one. This lawsuit is still ongoing, and it isn't just about boots. It's about resilience. It's about community. It's about staying true to what you believe in. And most importantly, it's about you being able to have the choice to purchase what you want to purchase. We need you guys, now more than ever. We don't ask you to spread anything that you don't feel comfortable with. Just tell the truth. Tell what you know. Spread the story that's being told. Everything you say and everything you do assists in this process. We truly do thank you, everyone here. We hope that this has many generations to come and many decades to come. We'll keep you updated as we move forward. This is not the last you'll hear of this story. As we go, guys, you'll be the first to know. We truly do appreciate everything you've done so far. Thanks again.
It's a very serious professional take on everything. It seems like they care in a way, but I think the intellectual property rights thing is something that's like still being figured out, and it's a shame that they've been building something for such a long time and then have to build their name. I'm sure it'll affect their profits, but the grandson of UGG since 1974 founder says that it's a legal necessity and a statement of authenticity. So the good thing is to start like embracing the change, or being forced to embrace that change. And I mean, this came from legal battles, obviously, but I mean, there's going to be contention on terms that just describe something in general, and then when it's made into a brand, it's like, okay, like, where do you draw the line and who gets ownership of this? It's a very grayish area, but I feel like my agreement would be like they shouldn't profit from a general term, but it's just my perspective. It's just I wonder why they claimed ownership or wanted the word UGG, even though they knew it was just a term, like a general term to describe the type of boot. But maybe they did it for marketing purposes so they could be known as like the company in the beginning. So maybe they did it strategically, but who knows? Who knows why they decided on using the generic term for sheepskin boots as their brand name. It's almost like if I want to sell bags and I call my company Bags. I was like, okay, make it more obvious here what you're doing. Let's go to the other news that I've seen, which is this YouTube video by lilrotini. She made an interesting YouTube video on Is Fashion Political? A 100-Year History. I haven't watched it, but I'm super interested in seeing what she talks about. So maybe I'll watch this for a couple of minutes to see what the vibe is. I just found it interesting and want to watch it with you guys. I skipped forward.
There have been two moments in my life when I was happiest.
Oh, sorry. I don't have an ad blocker. I hate ads. Okay.
Iris, wake up.
Did you jailbreak your sex bot?
I just
Is this
gave her a little
another
push.
ad?
Oh my.
Oh no. How many ads will I get?
Impressions that we make of one another, and it helps us one of the first visual impressions that we make of one another, and it helps us further dissect the socio-political landscape of an area over time. This becomes increasingly more important the more that people are censored, which is nothing new. Today we're going to explore how fashion has always been political in America from 100 years ago to the present day. I also talk with my hands a lot, not to be like one of those annoying people, but does kind of distract from the video, so you will be seeing me come in and out of this screen because, trust me going like this, you don't want to see it. I don't want to see it. So we are going to begin. It looks like I'm speaking into a hairbrush because I had my mic on. I accidentally deleted all of my audio until the 40s, so I will catch up with you then because I don't really like when the audio sounds different. Before we go into the 1920s, we're going to go into the mid-1800s to talk about the women's suffrage movement because it ties back into the 20s. Thanks! Suffrage movement was a decades-long campaign to secure a woman's right to vote in the United States. In the beginning of this movement, many women challenged gender norms by wearing white bloomers. No, not those bloomer shorts that you might be thinking of that are popular right now. No, nothing like that. It was the mid-1850s. Traditional 1800s bloomers wore loose-fitting pants that became a radical fashion expression because at the time, pants were considered an exclusive part of male attire. Wearing bloomers had an immediate affiliation with the suffrage movement. If you wore this as a woman, it would signal to other women and men that you were fighting for this cause. The bloomers movement only lasted for a few years because a lot of men made these ridiculous political cartoons to make fun of them. A lot of black suffragists didn't participate in this outward fashion statement because they weren't able to. A great example of this would be abolitionist Sojourner Truth, who was actually forced to wear pants and bloomers when she was enslaved. So for her, these weren't liberating pieces of clothing and they did not signify the same freedom as it did to white feminists. The white bloomers movement fell out after a couple of years and women reverted to unifying together in the collective uniform of a white dress, which was way more socially acceptable. As the suffrage movement continued into the early 20th century, the white dress remained a powerful political symbol. And after 1920, when the 19th Amendment was passed and white women had the right to vote, this symbol still remains a very popular political reference for women in politics. You can see at the State of the Union address in 2019 and 2020, women band together to wear white and honor the suffrage movement. Additionally, in her VP acceptance speech in November of 2020, Kamala Harris also wore a white pantsuit to pay homage to this movement, and Shirley Chisholm, who was the first black woman elected into Congress. In the 1930s, we had most notably the Great Depression. Fashion was not as often used as a political expression, but a result of the current political state. The Great Depression's stylistic choices showed class divide like never before. The wealthy got wealthier and they had expensive evening wear, most notably the rise of the backless dress. At the same time, the Dust Bowl was happening, which ruined the agriculture of the southwestern Great Plains region of the United States. This led to mass starvation and an extreme loss in income for many American families. In fashion, sacks with food were often covered with fabric so that women would be able to reuse the fabric bags to make clothing for their family. World War II was from 1939 to 1945. We're going to briefly talk about World War II and how the fashion reflected a country away at war. Women were working. All of America's money was going to the war overseas, and women left at home had rations. Utility clothing and female uniforms became popular for the working woman.
Once upon a time, there were beauty parades. All the girls needed was youth and culture. But this is war. California, women welders have a lunchtime contest. Men workers vote on each girl's appearance, job record, and attendance.
Isn't this pretty hot for you, Miss Spillane?
Well, I hear it gets kind of hot around the kitchen stove, too.
I never thought of that.
Women were enlisting to help as nurses during the war, and those who stayed home were sometimes working the jobs of their husbands. They didn't want them to work those jobs at first, and then they realized they actually needed them because nobody else could do it. It also became really popular at the time to make your own clothing. A lot of magazines had demonstrations on how to alter your husband's suits into your own. I don't really know what would happen when they came back, if they did. Because we were a country away at war, red, white, and blue were pretty much everywhere and on anything. This ties into the zoot suit.
I want a suit with the reach, complete with the drape, the shape, and stuff. Come to look sharp enough.
Zoot suits were made out of wool, and wool was one of the products that we had to ration, so it became illegal and very controversial to wear these. And they were also oversized, so a lot of people were offended that somebody would waste all of that fabric in such desperate times. There's some varying sources on where exactly they originated, but they're said to have grown out of the Harlem jazz community during the Harlem Renaissance in the mid-30s. Zoot suits were worn by many black Americans in Harlem and were quick to grow popularity in California by Mexican Americans, Filipinos, and Japanese Americans. Anybody who wore these suits were considered unpatriotic, and it caused the 1943 Zoot Suit riots in LA.
No, the Zoot Suits didn't cause the riots. Who caused the riots were the police that were criminalizing these poor Mexican Americans that were making a statement of an anti-establishment sentiment of like, we want our own identity, we don't want to be told that we're criminals all the time, and they just wanted to make a statement that they were here and they wanted to be seen and they wanted to have a place in their country. Like, they were born here. They're often like second generation or third generation. So the police brutalized them, targeted them based on how they dressed. And then a whole riot broke out between racial conflict. And it's so sad that these Mexican Americans that, you know, were born here but have this like culture, this background where were racialized and they were subject to so much violence for no reason. It was just, they were placed under so much racial tension and it was so unwarranted, to be honest.
A lot of innocent Mexican Americans in California became targets of law enforcement. Alright, now we're in the 50s and the men are back. The men are back, guys. Sound a warning, the men are back. And after the war, there was a huge return because of this to how things were. Tradition, housewives, elegance. After the war, the men were home and there was a huge boom in the economy because of it, because we were done spending all of our money on the war.
When he was gone, I was practically a prisoner in my own home. I couldn't get out to see my friends, couldn't take part in PTA activities. I couldn't even shop when I wanted to. I had to wait till Thursday night after Dave brought the car home.
A lot of people were able to afford to buy a home. They had disposable income to shop. There was a big return to tradition in all areas of life in the 50s, and fashion responded to this with an almost immediate emphasis in styles of femininity, elegance, modesty. There were hourglass silhouettes, cinched waist, fuller skirts, all pushed the same idea of a traditional housewife who always had to look polished and ready, even if she was just staying home.
That's crazy. I could never be a housewife because of this. I wouldn't want to look pretty for a person and like have dinner ready. Like, I know it was a role, but if that's the whole meaning of your life, how do you not go crazy? How do you not go crazy? That's the question.
Which usually she was. Now, in the 1960s, obviously, there's going to be a reaction to the sudden change and switch back to a conservative population. In the 60s, there was a huge rise in what is often referred to by historians as protest fashion, and more than ever, it became abundantly clear that the fashion choices that people would make would directly impact the response they would receive from outside of their community. Civil rights movement had plenty of important collective fashion groups, so we're going to go over a couple. The first one we have, the most notable one, likely by popular culture, would be MLK Jr., and he was with the SCLC, and they were wearing their Sunday best. Sunday best refers to the most presentable and respectable suit and tie look you could wear. Typically, in this case, what you would wear to church. He wanted their message to be taken more seriously and to show that they were worthy of respect. Which, remember, this was a collective fashion movement that was extremely successful, but that success, unfortunately, did not come without the continuous racial violence and police brutality that they experienced.
I feel like often what people don't understand is that fashion is political no matter in what circumstances you are, but fashion can be used as a tool to send a message in normal everyday basis, and then especially so in like social justice groups or social issues or in protests or whatever, in social advocacy. And I think even if they did want to be respected, even if they wore a certain thing, like, fashion can only do so much because it's a tool, and it won't inherently address and tackle all of the issues there. It's just like one part of this greater web of things, but it can certainly help in sending messages, sending an idea of who you are and what you represent and like how you want to continue living or be seen as. It's not going to be the solution. Like, I don't think we're going to solve the fall of democracy based on what we wear, how people perceive us based on how we made our clothing or something. That's not, I don't think fashion will be what creates the solutions in a collective level for other social issues connected to it.
Young black college students would wear denim alongside Southern sharecroppers and working class adults to fight for their rights. They were rebels with the cause, and they were using this fashion choice as their political rebellion. Other young non-black students would support the cause. Many would travel from the north to the south to help them organize, and when they'd go back north, they would wear their blue jeans, their denim overalls, and continue this fashion choice. So a side note for some context, the 60s had what is called a youthquake. There were so many young people, so many boomers, and all of them were willing to put their lives on the line for change. They did not like the way that things were, and they were ready to fight for it. So, good for you, I guess. I don't know why they ended up being weird later on, but
I think one of the things that I think she's kind of grappling here with is that there's a lot of people that would dress and may have it just seemed like they were in alignment with like certain ideologies or certain social movements, like the hippies and stuff, like all about peace and love or whatever. But after the 60s ended, a lot of young adults just went about having their own normal life. So I think they definitely were entrenched in a trend and wore things out of a fear of like FOMO, like the fear of missing out. And maybe they just did things or thought a certain way because of like how popular it was in its times. But it is hard to continue to, fulfill and live up to values that are so hard to accomplish in midst of capitalism and midst of so much oppression and like and and challenges, and it's a worthwhile battle. It's a lifelong battle to get to change. But I think for maybe a lot of people, it was easier just to like have a quote unquote normal life, and maybe just did things out of like a trend or because they didn't care or something on a real basis. I don't know. I would love to have people interview, you know, the generation from the 60s and see why they really did what they did. Like, why did they wear the outfit, or why did you go to the protests and then have a quote unquote normal life afterwards? I feel like they were frauds in a way. Like, out of a group of 20, maybe 5 of them actually really cared and dedicated themselves to this work for the rest of their life, or actually really did something, versus just saying they cared or like wore the right thing. But yeah, I don't know. What did happen? What happened to them? What clicked in their head to move on? And how did they justify it? That's...
No. The Black Panther Party of the 60s also had their own collective fashion choices to show their political affiliations, and they were against the idea of dressing up to conform to white standards. They wanted to challenge the white standards, and that included fashion.
In America, black people are treated very much as the Vietnamese people, because we're used, we're brutalized.
Everything is designed. Everything that you read is...
Sorry, I have no ad blocker.
Dressed unisex to support their uniform cause together. Wore berets, which were a symbol of revolution at the time. They were a part of many military uniforms, specifically the French resistance fighters during World War II, which made the party adopt them as a symbol of nonconformism and resistance against police brutality. The Black Panther Party is also associated with leather jackets in popular culture, but this was mostly out of convenience, as this was something most people already owned. Sunglasses were also worn as a way to help conceal their identities, especially because they were being surveillanced by the FBI. And according to the FBI director at the time, he said that they were the greatest threat to the internal security of our country. On their berets and jackets, they often had pinback buttons that would support their causes. These were easily accessible, very cheap to make and mass produce. Going out and protesting was a direct threat to their livelihood because they were being surveillanced. The slipping of a button to other people and sharing their message was a lot more covert and safe. There was also protest fashion to the Vietnam War. Wearing black armbands would be a way that younger people, starting with students, would protest the war in Vietnam. It was a peaceful way to express opposition, but it did start with backlash, with school boards banning them. Kids were suspended, harassed physically and verbally for their stance. The end of the 60s also marks one of the most pivotal moments in queer history, which would be the Stonewall riots of 1969. Police spontaneously began to raid gay bars in New York City and brutally attack and arrest queer people. Stonewall was actually owned by the mafia at the time, and they would bribe the police, but the police would still enter, and then they would charge people with the solicitation of homosexual relations. Remember that in the 50s and 60s, homosexuality was illegal in 49 states. If you were to be openly queer, you were subject to violence and imprisonment. One thing I do want to add when it comes to the topic of queerness throughout America's history is that queerness will always be political. I think in general, this doesn't just apply to being queer, just existing outside of the traditional norms. Every choice in clothing, when your existence is up for political debate, is political. And the way that you express yourself, whether that's to conform or to be all...
I think this applies to everyone, like her statement, like we're all entrenched in society. Like, no matter if you're queer or straight, Christian or atheist or like whatever, I think you're honestly going to be part of the system where fashion is political. Like, nothing is not political. So I think she's hitting a truthness to everything.
Authentic will always be political when there are people that are questioning the validity of your existence. Fashion, sorry, my computer is messing up, but fashion for the queer community specifically is an amazing way that you can assert your identity and to show yourself. I am queer. I am proud of being queer. I will not conform. I will not hide to the standards of a heteronormative society, to a cisgender world. I will be who I want to be, and you will have to deal with it. And for a lot of trans and gender non-conforming people, every single day your outfit is challenging the gender norm. So that is directly political. Political rebellion is not always really...
I think this will be inherently true within the next 4 years, as especially when Trump says he will only recognize the female and male gender, which is unjustifiable. I don't agree whatsoever. I just think that it's going to be harder and harder for people to be safe. And I think fashion can be a tool to either empower themselves or help them in their journey.
Really like by choice, if that makes sense. You're not like, today I'm doing this. It's usually not by choice. You're rebelling against something that has been used against you. So that's all I'm saying. I don't really know if that made sense, but I'm just going to continue. Now, during the Stonewall riots, a lot of historians say this is not a written rule or something that they could find any record of. There was something that was called a 3-article rule. It is a suggestion for other people within your community to wear at least 3 pieces of clothing that align with the sex that you were assigned with at birth, and this was to avoid a police raid and also to avoid police brutality. This was really just a warning to each other so that everybody would be able to be safe. Continuing on, we have the 1970s. And the 1970s actually had a group that was slightly inspired by the Black Panther Party, and they were called the Brown Berets. The Brown Berets were a social organization founded in the late 60s by and for Chicano rights in East LA. They were fighting against police brutality, educational discrimination, and these berets were very similar to the Black Panther Party. They were used to reject the mainstream assimilation into the white media and culture. Coming out of the 60s into the 70s, we have the women's liberation movement. It was for working class and middle class women. It was for radical feminism, and it responded to the counterculture that embraced outdated beliefs about women of all races and sexualities. Romantic styles. They ditched bras, they opted for tube tops. The pantsuit also became very popular. As late as 1978, there were restaurants that wouldn't allow women with pants to enter. Now, pants have been around throughout each decade and worn, but the pantsuit really took off as a megatrend because women wanted to be taken seriously, and it became available at every level of retail.
And pants that fit at $9.49 that glide through the day.
Leading into the 80s in the South Bronx and Harlem, we had the rise of hip-hop culture.
Nothing transforms a person quicker than a garment. Nothing quicker. You put on nice clothes no matter how poor you are or where you come from, and you go downtown, you're just like them.
And I mentioned this briefly in my street style video. I mentioned Dapper Dan. I'm not going to talk a ton about it. I'm going to link the same resources I did there so that you could learn more about this if you're interested. At this time, a lot of Black and Latino Americans would make fashion choices that were associated with hip-hop, and each of these clothing pieces served as a visual marker of political resistance to the white mainstream social hierarchy. Hip-hop began to have huge mainstream success, and no matter how wealthy or big that hip-hop artist got, they would still wear street fashion looks from brands that represented the working class. This was a way for a lot of hip-hop artists to clap back and to signal their presence in a lot of places that would traditionally exclude them.
You might walk in the
Let's skip forward to some contention with some musicians in this field, so I'm just gonna skip forward.
Hey, come here quick. I want to show you something.
I'm sorry.
Do you want to see the worst?
Blah, 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 blah.
Specifically for women called power dressing, and for men, mostly, it was yuppies. An editorial from October 1985 American Vogue was titled Power Dressing, and it showed women above men who were filling up their gas tanks, cleaning their pools. It said, men can fuel fantasy, but women set the direction and tone. You get the sense that things are changing. The idea of dressing the part became popular. One example is skirt suits with the exaggerated padded shoulders. No matter what you were wearing as a woman, even to this day, a man is always going to figure out a way to sexualize you. So the idea that you still had to dress up like a man as much as you could to succeed in the workforce, the idea still existed of dressing like a man in the workforce in the 80s, but it was beginning to feel like a change was coming. And it also was meant to send a very strong political message that women belonged in the workforce. Women did not have to stay home anymore, and women could have successful careers with
I don't really get why we need to dress like a man to be respected as a woman. Does that make sense? To me, it doesn't, but this just shows the extent to which we're gonna go to be respected. Even if it doesn't work, we'll continue, because it's a trend, which is sad, but we did it anyways. Is that really the reason why there was all those ugly suits with all the shoulder pads? Oh god, that's so sad. There's so many like 80s things in the thrift store. I'm upset. Let's continue.
financial independence for the first time. One of the biggest political and social issues of the 80s, especially within the LGBT community, was the AIDS crisis.
And people it strikes and that it threatens to explode in the nation's cities.
Federal health officials say as many as 1 million Americans may have been infected with the AIDS virus, and more than 12,000 are expected to develop the deadly disease next year.
Fashion solidarity did play a huge role in fighting the stigma around AIDS and raising awareness, but more importantly, there was a push of conformity for a lot of gay youth at the time because they were going to be stereotyped.
Okay. Uh-oh. Okay, I think I've had enough learnings from this video. It's a very good video. I love this content creator on YouTube. I didn't know she was like into commentary. I think it's her first commentary video, to be honest. She's done like a lot of tips and tricks sort of thing. Is she a TikToker? I'm not quite sure who she is. I think she's an influencer. Maybe she's like a TikToker or something. I don't know, but that was a good video, so I'll support and then just move on for the sake of time. There was an interesting article that I saw where it was talking about two high schoolers that were supporters of sustainable fashion. So I'd love to get into that. It was written by a local college called the Westminster College News, and it was released a couple of days ago, the 21st. It says, two Westminster seniors have been making waves in fashion and sustainability. Nydia Johnson, a neuroscience major and vice president of the Black Student Union, and Alicia Morris, an environmental studies major and active student ambassador for the local food bank, have teamed up to reveal their sustainable fashion that is practical and stylish. Sustainable swag is an Instagram where Nydia and Eliza post creative outfits they wear daily. Eliza, I don't know how to say her name. Alicia emphasizes it's a great creative outlet for us and gives us the opportunity to show our creations and express ourselves together. The duo's journey began with inspiration from friends and roommates Vivian and Janeria. They have unique names. Much respect. I'm butchering them. Who encouraged them to share their fashion-forward looks with the world. They suggested we post our outfits on some sort of media to show others how creative you can be on a budget. This month marks a significant milestone for them as their sustainable swag account approaches its first anniversary. It's about to be a year on the 24th. Nydia shares excitingly. As graduation approaches, they may be unsure of the future of the account. However, one thing is certain, they are determined to continue their journey sustainably. They hope to combine love for sustainability with fashion while the other I don't want to butcher their name. This girl is excited to see where life takes her. Oh, we should look at their Instagram. See, this article is so wholesome. I love it. Oh, so fashionable, so cute. Let's see. You can follow me if you want. It's El Magana Morales. Oh, I love their profile. What is happening? I love their profile picture. I was not expecting this. Oh, they're so wholesome. 139 followers. Swaggy OOTDs. They're just having fun. See, this is the best sort of sustainable fashion. Is this Walmart? Oh, this is so wholesome. Are they in high school or It's being managed by someone? Whoa, they got a manager, guys. It's so official. Oop. Oop. Okay. Okay. Oh, good job. It seems like they're having fun, and I think that's what sustainable fashion should be about, to be honest. So, nice for them. I love it. Okay, going into what's happening with LA, there's been fires, obviously, and there's been a lot of donations being given out to help support the community. And this article is super interesting. It's by the FASHIONISTA, and it was basically explaining how there's like free boutiques now so people can come shop there, and how the community is really coming together to help those that have nothing left after the fires. So yeah, let's look at this. It's a different sort of vibe compared to the last article, but yeah, it's an important topic. So it says, it's been a week since we watched our screens in horror as the massive flames engulfed the Pacific Palisades and Altadena neighborhoods of Los Angeles. And even as the wildfires continue to spread, those of us lucky enough to live outside of their paths could think of little else but what are these people going to do? Are my friends and family okay? And how can I help? And evidently, those of us working in fashion also thought they need clothes. And then we get an ad. And it says, well, those of us working in fashion and one 8th grade girl who no longer had a school to go to after hers was swiftly destroyed by the Eden fire. As relief efforts were being shared and organized on social media, shortly after these fires began tearing through residential areas, Altadena girls were quick to go viral. 14-year-old Avery Culver started the project because most of her friends lost their homes and everything inside, and she wanted to help. Oh, interesting. Avery from Altadena Girls. When disaster strikes, people only focus on basic survival needs, but for teenage girls who have lost everything, feeling like ourselves again is also really important for our mental health. Things like basic hygiene products to the makeup we wear every day makes us feel normal in times when everything else feels chaotic. She posted on a newly created Altadena Girls Instagram account on Saturday, January 11th. I want to help other teen girls in my community rebuild their sense of identity and self-confidence during this difficult time. So cute. I am having errors with the system. Okay, let's continue. Schlot is live? No, Schlot's my favorite streamer. I can't. Okay, I need to focus. We'll watch Schlot for a second. Within 48 hours, the Altadena Girls Instagram was reposted by Paris Hilton, receiving donations of brand new products from Charli XCX, not to mention countless fashion and beauty brands and prominent content creators who had mobilized to help. Individual donations were being turned away due to the overwhelming response, and warehouses turned creative studio in which they only planned to receive and serve donations became a temporary store, replete with merchandise racks of brand new clothing in all sizes, unopened beauty products for all skins, skin tones and types, a well-stocked shoe section organized by size, and experienced volunteers, stylists to help teen shoppers find whatever they might need and put outfits together. I cannot read, guys. Put outfits together. Okay, I use the term shoppers loosely since everything there is free, but it really feels more like a proper store than a makeshift donation center, like a sample sale that had been planned and promoted for years at the very least. Oh wow, that's cool. So organized. Does anyone have eyes on Avery? An adult woman volunteer asks. She's 14 and has been through hell. It says the initiative took a life on its own. I am no way an operations expert whatsoever, but everyone that's come in and showed up every day, they took the lead. When you're this age, your identity has everything to do with your clothes, your hair, your makeup. Avery couldn't imagine having to have all that gone. Avery couldn't imagine having all that gone, especially right after the holidays. Yeah, at 14, I'd be devastated to lose my makeup, to lose my fashion, to lose my shoes, to lose everything, like your bedroom, your home, your stability, the way of life. I think as a very introverted, shy, anxious person, if I had lost that, I would have been like so lost and so messed up, and I wouldn't know what to do with myself. So yeah, I really respect initiatives to like come together and put things out for everyone else who doesn't have anything right now. And I like how there's like basically donation fueled free clothing stores. This is something that I've always advocated for. It's sad that it's finally coming when there's an emergency, but I really respect and love how people are coming together to do this. I like how other people like this thrift store are coming together too to like have their space be a donation center. So I really like that. I think it's like helping in a collective way than ever before. Let me see. Cork's free store. Oh, that's so cool. Free department store. That's awesome. That's so cool. Well, hopefully they continue to volunteer and operate the free stores and have like these sort of initiatives in the long run until people get a bit more stabilized. They've lost their homes, but also their jobs and like maybe their car. So this is really important, even if it is just a small thing. Like it's really important. Like makeup can go such a long way in helping people. Like even just having a jacket gives you some reassurance. Yeah. Wait, I have to go see what Schlatt is doing. Schlatt & Co? Is that what it's called? Do I not follow him? Okay. He's not live right now. I just wanted to stalk him. But yeah, this is a really great initiative. Let me follow some of these. Oh, this is a fundraiser. Currently, I do not have money to help fundraisers. Oh, that's so cool. That's great that there's initiatives like this popping up. I feel like my live is lagging. Oh my god, can you imagine having 11,000 people watching you? Okay, I'm gonna click out because y'all are not watching me, so I can watch another streamer. But Schlatt's a really interesting character, for sure. But going to this article, I'm getting so many notifications. It's like Friday. It's a Friday night, guys. But I want to read this article. So, fire-stricken LA is swamped with clothing donations, and not all of them is wanted. Donation centers around Los Angeles have been overwhelmed by mountains of old clothes, a stark reminder of the excess of production and consumption that's helped drive the climate crisis and weather extremes that have come with it. Oh my gosh, it's behind a paywall. It's a Friday night and I want to read an article and it's behind a paywall. That's great, guys. That's great. I'm sorry if I'm having also streaming lags it says there's like a streaming flow error. So if it's laggy, if I'm saying it's laggy, I know. This is like my third stream. Or fourth? Third? I think it's my third. But yeah, I can't read the article. Who knows? Maybe there is too many donations happening in LA. I wouldn't know because the business of fashion is sure putting the business in fashion. Yes. Moving on. So Stella McCartney, this thing, and Fashion for Good join a BioCircular Material Alliance. It seems like there's like more initiatives to join forces in terms of like making garments more sustainable, circular. So it was actually really nice seeing that there's like a thing, like an actual organization that's trying to pull efforts together, like the BioCircular Materials Alliance. And basically they're saying it's going to be for sustainable circular business practices. And they're saying the collaboration aims to repurpose bio-based waste from textiles, agriculture, and forestry into valuable commodities like protein materials using metabolic recycling, among other avant-garde techniques. As of January 21st, 2025, the alliance has 22 members. And some guy, the Sustainability Executive Vice President and Director of something something, I'm skipping words, too many titles, says seeing such a diverse group of organizations align and collaborate towards a shared goal is truly inspiring. What began as a vision to grow into a dynamic collaborative effort was with strong momentum for real societal level change to create a circular future. What? I did not read that right. What did I read? I did not read that right. Basically, they want a circular future, okay? That's cool. Do they have like an Instagram page or something? They have a plan. Do they have a database? Huh? The Biomaterials Alliance. It looks so official. Biological materials created by living organisms are building blocks of life. Whoa. Guys, I feel like I'm in science class. What is this? Metabolic recycling transforms bio-based waste into biological nutrients such as sugars and amino acids, which serves as a I was never good at science. Can we move on? I kind of want to move on. Oh, this is nice. Good job. Good job, Alliance. Circular bioeconomy. BioCircular design into new products. What is this? Okay, I can't. There's too much. It's too much science. It's good. It's good. It will. Okay. This is the summary. Tools will help make fibers, dyes, and chemicals enhance biocircularity, and it will help create more sustainable product design. And it will also, let's see, will create a regenerative bioeconomy, showing the power of collaboration and innovation for societal level change. Okay. And it says it's helping us move towards better design choices to enable biocircularity. Well, that's good. I respect it, but it's very science-based, which is something that I'm not used to with sustainable fashion, but all the efforts count. And then one of the other things that I saw is that Amazon will be ending the Prime Try Before You Buy initiative, and this is an article by Retail Dive. So basically it says Amazon is ending its Try Before You Buy service this month after nearly an 8-year run, as Amazon spokesperson confirmed to Retail Dive that the company is phasing out Try Before You Buy on January 31st. The spokesperson said the move is in response to increasing customer use of AI-powered features like virtual try-on and personalized size recommendations that help customers get to the right fit. Amazon Prime Try Before You Buy service gave members a 7-day hands-on trial for selected men's, women's, kids, and baby shoes and accessories. And it says Amazon is ending its Stitch Fix-like service at the end of the month too, as AI features catch on among shoppers. This sucks. Why would they do this to us? Why would they do this to us? AI is not gonna help in the long run. Like, we don't need AI. We need Stitch Fix. Amazon began offering its Try Before You Buy as a beta program under the name Amazon Prime Wardrobe in 2017. It debuted with 1 million items across the name brands like Levi's and Adidas. Amazon expanded the service availability to more Prime customers less than a year later. The move came as Stitch Fix was rising popularity. Dang. Since Amazon launched the program, surveys and data indicate returns have become more of a financial and logistical pain point for retailers. So it cost too much and it was too much effort to do this, basically. And they want AI to help us shop. Why am I not surprised? Try Before You Buy worked well with the days when Amazon was trying to build its customer base in apparel. However, the program adds operational complexity and it almost encourages consumers to make returns. That's a good point. That's a good point. Now Amazon is more a significant player in apparel with much higher volumes. It likely wants to simplify and streamline things. The National Retail Federation and reverse logistics company Happy Returns forecast that shoppers will return $890 billion to merchandise in 2024, a December report found. The figure represents nearly 17% of retail's annual sales. Is this just for Amazon? No, it's just in general. I mean, hopefully people return less stuff and they keep more things, but I don't really think AI is going to be the solution to all this. Dang. Also, do you guys want to see which Twitch streamers I watch? Is this just me making an excuse to go see what Shaw is doing? I haven't watched his streams in a long time. Oh my god, I keep getting ads. No. Okay, I'll just get back when the ad is over. So another thing that I saw is fashion is in its weird era. The voice of fashion. So this was written by Darshita, and it says, as the internet sounds the death knell of personal style, weird individual expressions are warming out of the woodwork. If I think back to the first time I ever heard of weird fashion, two visuals spring to mind. One is television. Remember Harper Finkel, Alex Russo's, aka Selena Gomez, scatterbrained, wacky doodle best friend from Wizards of Waverly Place. Yes, the one who wore fruity print on print dresses with broad headbands and fascinators. He's literally just playing a game.
I could get into that, but, you know, I think the vibes are a little too high.
Congrats on finishing up Chuckle Sandwich, big guy.
Thank you. Super happy.
It was a great ride.
It was a great ride.
And now it's over. Never to return.
Now it's over.
A great stream.
I love the podcast.
It is over, never to. That is true. That is true. We're going to do a quick job. Let's start out small. Here's what I love doing. I love doing price per distance. I love seeing what kind of jobs on the trucker market will make me the most money. So,
you hear about Logan Paul passing away?
No.
Sadly didn't happen.
Yeah, if you don't know who Shot is, he's a very entertaining content creator. He's a little bit out there. He says some abrasive things, but is a nice dude. He had a podcast called Chuckle Sandwich with like some content creators that I watch all the time. But yes, just curious to see what he was doing. 13,000 people watching you. I would never want that. I would want like 100.
I'm going to take an oversized load.
How high are the bills for you to go streaming again?
Guys, please. Please.
Okay. He's like, don't bother me. Okay. Let me get back to my fashion stuff now. I was just curious. Sorry, I'm a little bit distracted tonight. Okay. Okay, the second is more personal. Wait, am I reading a diary entry? Okay, I really love this little section where she said something about something called soft wardrobes. So in the decades since we have, let me focus. In the decades since we have witnessed a decline of out there personal style. As social media gained steam, an era of sameness took over visual culture. To be cool, you had to conform to mass-produced athleisure and streetwear, which trickled into sleek, homogeneous, clean girl trends. I have seen that a lot. Even Gaga took a step back in an interview with The Times. The singer declared she was quieting her fashion to shift focus on her music. Closer home, we saw actor Ranver, once a purveyor of effeminate French fashion, took a similar route. Wow, these are big words. These are big words, guys. Okay, I think the big words are kind of like eating at me. But I do think more people follow trends based on what's happening on social media. So I wouldn't surprise if you do lose your style in the midst of wanting to fit in and post your pretty pictures on social media. I've never been a big Instagram poster. Like, I forget to post all the time, even though I'm supposed to be doing it for a lot of different reasons, and I don't do it. And I'm barely getting into my own personal style and figuring out what my style is in general, point blank. So I think it's just a learning journey. So it's a learning journey, and it's just hard to do that when you want to like be perceived as cute or cool or whatever. But I wonder what it means to be weird too. Like, is it just not doing what everyone else is doing? It's kind of easy to be weird, like just do the exact opposite everyone else is doing. But what is this? What is this? The imperfect tense with the solo girl? Guys, I'm so distracted today. Okay, I don't know what this is. Moving on. So I saw another news that says Guess Jeans returns to Florence to grow as a sustainable brand. It's by the Spinoff. And it says here that Guess Jeans returns to PT Umo for the third consecutive time. At the fair, it will present its newest sustainable products and a brand increasingly aimed at the young market, both inside the Forteza and through the local Renascent storefronts. Sounds very fancy. I'm gonna drink my Coca-Cola because I'm getting tired. Okay. Consolidating its ability to renew denim for 40 years, having revolutionized industry with the first stone-washed jeans in 1981, Guess Jeans continues to evolve under the leadership of Nicolai Marciano, Chief New Business Development. You mean developer? Okay. He presents the brand's new collection driven by a contemporary aesthetic and sets new standards for denim using responsible manufacturing processes and treatments through Guess air wash technology made by Genologia. What the heck? Okay. Nice. A year ago, during the last year's Pity, they unveiled how their technology replaces pumice stones during the stone washing process with air and water, offering a vintage garment with the same image and performance as those treated with pumice stone. While the present one it disclosed other sustainable treatments such as, along with laser, also ozone. Ozone? What? Okay. Also during this Pity, it showed garments from the Guess original collection, a line aimed at slightly more adult audience but still treated with pumice stone. But soon the brand's entire denim offering will be made using only eco-friendly treatments. From January 14th to February 3rd, Guess Jeans will also immerse those who pass by the Renaissance in Florence, positioned in Central Piazza, showing the process of the Guess air wash through the store and its windows, as did last July in Milan during summer and with a party to be held tonight. January 15th. Oh, I want to go. Dang, they didn't invite me. They didn't invite me to the Pummel Stone store. In addition to the new pop-up store, it also opened its first flagship store in Amsterdam and Berlin, along with the opening of stores in... Okay, if you want to be sustainable when you're opening stores, like, you just are helping your own business. Also, I just noticed my head is in the words of the article. I'm so sorry, my head has been in the way. I'm just in the way today, huh? Let me see. Let me move the article. Reduce down. Perfect. Okay. Let's continue. Am I too small? Like in terms of like the thing? There we go. Back at it. Where was I? For 2025, Nicolai Marciano will help the brand grow further by opening flagships. Why are you opening so many stores? This doesn't sound like they're becoming more sustainable. They're just becoming sustainability oriented, and they move to move. They move to move, guys. I was just noticing how I have so many things on my desktop. What are this? What is this? Don't ignore this, guys. Ignore that. Don't ignore that. Okay. I like how Guess Jeans is saying, hey, we're becoming more of a sustainable brand, but we're opening so many stores up, and we're not using pummel stones anymore. We're using air and water. We're sustainable. That's what they're doing right now. That's what they're doing. Okay, that's what they're doing. Okay, next. How do I make these live streams more entertaining? I feel like I'm comparing myself to Schlatt right now. I'm not Schlatt whatsoever. Do you guys ever compare yourself to like top dogs in the field that you're in, and you just don't feel like you compare? Like, I don't feel like I can compare. Like, I listen to Hassan. He kind of has the commentary vibe. He just sits and talks about news, and that's kind of what I do.
24 hours. Yes. And if individuals want to clear out their property, they can.
I don't want to listen to Trump. I listen to Emily as well. She's not there. Where are you, Emily? She live streams 24/7. It's super impressive. And then I don't really watch these people. I don't really watch Arthur, but oh my god, another ad. I don't really watch him either. He's like a gamer guy. I mostly listen to Hassan.
70 at the moment. I probably should slow down a little.
I guess rent is...
Everyone's just yapping. Yeah, everyone's just yapping. I need to stop comparing myself. They've been doing this for years too. I'm on my 3rd stream. Okay, back at it. So, the Santa Barbara Natural History Museum makes a sustainable fashion statement, and it's by The Independent. So basically it says there is feathered clothing pieces called Fashion Fatale. Fashion Fatale combines natural history specimens with historic apparel to tell a story about fashion and the environment. So the Santa Barbara Natural History Museum showcases sustainability and environmental consciousness, and their fascinating new exhibit, Fashion Fatale, The Human Obsession with Feathers. This colorfully creative exhibition features a diverse array of feathered historic pieces of clothing and accessories. In collaboration with the Santa Barbara Historical Museum, the exhibit aims to promote a sustainable future. The archival apparel shown is sustainable through its natural elements of collection and assemblage. The museum wants guests to take away 3 main themes from experiencing this wonder: the importance of fashion, history, and conservation. Through its close observation, one can learn more about the history of environmental impacts to birds and the preservation of their species. Santa Barbara Natural History Museum Director of Exhibits Melinda Morgan Stowell explains that we invite our guests to enjoy the amazing pieces our partners have provided for the exhibits as they explore our impressions and opinions about both past and present fashion trends and how our individual decisions affect the natural world. This exhibit's message is more than just work itself, but rather a call to action for us, the people who interact with nature in a fragile environment. Each piece is uniquely creative and shows how valued, resourceful, and mindfulness can be carried throughout history. In this day and age of overconsumption and endless trend cycles when it comes to fashion, sometimes the best thing to do is to make do with what you already have available to you. It's important to stop draining our world of its precarious resources and to make clothes for more people, and this exhibit shows that this is possible. That's wholesome. Cool. Can I see it? Or can we see this? That's cool. That's a lot of feathers. So much feathers. What is that? What is that? That doesn't look right. Poor birds. Say feathers from ceremonial adornments to mass market trends to consider the impact of these choices on bird population. Poor birds. Where's this at? Santa Barbara? Santa Barbara? Santa or Santa? Cool. Okay. So next we have the 2024 New Gen Assembly Wellbeing and Spiral Playbook by the Global Fashion Agenda and the Center of Sustainable Fashion's Fashion Values Program. The 2024 Next Gen Assembly Wellbeing Spiral Playbook is a resource created by the 2024 Next Gen Assembly cohort centered on the theme of economies of well-being. It explores alternative models and diverse economic values within the fashion ecosystem. About the report. As the fashion industry faces the urgent need to redefine its values and practices, the 2024 Next Gen Assembly brings together voices from across the globe to explore, promote, and communicate diverse economic values and alternative models for the fashion ecosystem under the term of economies of well-being. The playbook introduces the well-being spiral, a unique framework that emphasizes the iterative and deeply personal nature of systemic transformation. By centering the interconnected stages of unlearning and relearning, ideating and shifting, the spiral provides actionable pathways for individuals and organizations that advocates for climate, social, and racial justice in both global and local contexts. We shall download. Should we download it? You guys ever want to reach me? My email is sustainableamor@gmail.com. It is, what am I? Founder. Someone on my recent Sustainable Fashion podcast episode was saying, can you have more structure in your podcast? When I literally ended the podcast saying, I'm sorry, I talked in circles. And I was saying, like, oh, I'm a founder of this, but, like, am I really a founder? No, I don't want more information. Download. Do I need more information to download? Oh my gosh, okay. Download. Why is it taking so long? Just thinking about it. I'm just thinking about it. Nice. I like the little spiral moment. 49 pages. Introduction, unlearning, relearning, ideating, shifting, fulfilling the spiral, conclusion. Can AI robot read this? AI robot, do your do. Do your do. Start speaking.
This playbook is the culmination of the learnings, discussions, and exploration by the 2024 Next Gen Assembly cohort. It aims to explore, promote, and communicate diverse economic values and alternative models for the fashion ecosystem. Under the theme of economies of well-being, the playbook encourages the use of different frameworks and thought structures as tools to advance climate, social, and racial justice within global and local contexts. At the heart of this project is the Well-Being Spiral, a framework that highlights the iterative and personal nature of systemic transformation. The spiral provides a pathway for individuals and organizations to implement initiatives centered on well-being, guided by the overarching stages of unlearning and relearning, ideating, and shifting. This project has been an opportunity for emerging professionals in the fashion and sustainability space, with diverse nationalities, backgrounds, and roles, to collaborate and share.
That's cool. It says, what is fashion's future amid climate, ecological, and humanitarian crises? What is the point of fashion without an inhabitable world? How can fashion acknowledge its role in these crises, and where do we change from here? To answer these questions, we need to begin by centering well-being in the economy. I like the well-being spiral. Empathizing, adapting, centering plurality, identify, challenging, measuring, implementing, scaling, cross-pollinating, shifting, ideating. I feel like this is a lot to read. But it's cool. Unraveling, imagine you're a spiral, tightly wound, compressed, compact, comforted by the intimacy of closed space and shade. Light beckons. You begin to unfurl your spiral, tentacles delicately unraveling and expanding. Burgeoning, you open up to the world, looking towards fresh possibilities and plural awakenings. I feel like this could be a whole live stream just reading this book. Okay, we'll get back to that if we have time at the end, but that's cool. I really do want to read that. I feel like it'll be very enlightening with a lot of inspirational bits here and there. But one of the things, I'm actually not going to do this one, that I saw, one of the things that I saw was this magazine called Hehe magazine. It's by a college. What is it? The Huron University College. It's actually based in Canada. And it's done by the Huron Ethical Fashion Association, which is a non-for-profit organization designed and run by students at the Huron University College. And over the past year, they have basically fostered a very vibrant and inclusive community for anyone passionate about fashion, sustainability, and creativity. And they aim to support meaningful conversations about ethical clothing practices, thrifting, personal style, and sustainable design. And yeah, they have a magazine, which I really love. that they released. It's this hehe magazine, and it's all about animal welfare and sustainable fashion, and we should definitely take a look at it. So the letter of the president says, "Dear readers, as the presidents of the association, we're excited to share with you this special issue focused on two deeply interconnected themes, animal welfare and sustainable fashion. In recent years, the fashion industry has faced consumers and advocates alike demanding more accountability, transparency, and compassion in how our clothes are made. At the heart of this shift is a shared belief that the choices we make, from the fabrics we wear to the protection methods we support, should reflect a commitment to protecting both the planet and its inhabitants. Ethical fashion represents more than just a trend. It is a movement that prioritizes people, animals, and the environment over profit. At the Huron Ethical Fashion Association, we're passionate about promoting practices that honor this change. This includes championing cruelty-free alternatives to animal-derived materials, supporting brands that prioritize fair laborers, and encouraging innovation and sustainable design. By fostering these values, we hope to contribute to a fashion industry that is not only beautiful but also kind. Animal welfare is a crucial pillar of sustainable fashion, from the exploitation of animals for leather, wool, and fur to the environmental impact of industrial farming. Traditional fashion practices have too often come at a steep cost to the animal kingdom. I'm going to move the camera over a bit. Perfect. Today, however, we have an abundance of alternatives that allow to look good without compromising our ethics. Materials like plant-based leather, organic cotton, and recycled textiles are paving the way for a more compassionate future. By embracing these options, we can help reduce the demand for harmful practices and celebrate the innovations that align with our values. Sustainability is inseparable from animal welfare. The environmental degradation caused by unsustainable practices, including deforestation, water pollution, and greenhouse gas emissions, disproportionately impacts wildlife and their habitats. By choosing sustainable fashion, we can mitigate these effects and protect the ecosystem that countless species call home. We believe that every choice matters, and together we have the power to shape a better future for fashion. Whether you're a seasoned advocate or just beginning your journey towards more ethical consumption, we invite you to join us in making thoughtful decisions that align with your values. From supporting brands with transparent supply chains to rethinking fast fashion, each step you take contributes to a more compassionate and sustainable world. Thank you for your continued support and for being part of this vital conversation. Together we can redefine what it means. Together we can redefine what it means to be stylish, not just for today, but for generations to come. Academia meets fashion ethics. Interview with Kendra Coulter. Animal welfare and sustainable fashion.
What's in your wardrobe? When we think of animal byproducts in fashion, leather and fur often come to mind. But what about the wool in your cozy sweater or the down in your winter coat?
It's not letting me grab it.
What's in your wardrobe? When we think of animal byproducts in fashion, leather and fur often come to mind. But what about the wool in your cozy sweater or the down in your winter coat, the ends of the jacket? An animal suffered for your piece of clothing. Even if that animal was not killed for its wool, it endured mental abuse as it was trapped in a cage and could have experienced blood loss, shock, and/or dehydration. PETA. According to People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, also known as PETA, animals are often trapped in filthy conditions and stripped of their autonomy. PETA. Not to mention the brutal slaughtering some experience. Workers usually do whatever.
It didn't read it right. But I love these sort of magazines where it's like exploring the deeper things in fashion. I think that was it. Yeah, I think that was it. Just had two articles in there. But yeah, I think we need more of these sort of things where we talk about the animal welfare and stuff like that. But I can go ahead and read it. It says, behind products, there is a story of animal abuse. I hope consumers think twice or take a pause before they buy clothing. I want them to be able to identify what's in their clothing. There's a animal byproduct, says Koji, they, them, a current student in the animal ethics program in Huron. The issue with animal ethics is that many people don't know what is considered an animal byproduct. When they think of animal and fashion, most people make a connection to killing animals for the use of leather and fur. However, this is only one example of animal byproducts in clothing. If you're reading this, chances are you think this way too, but don't worry. Koji and I are here to deep dive into the secrets of animal byproducts in fashion. Animal abuse in clothing not only affects the lives of the animals who are killed, but also those who are not killed. In other words, the animals that are exploited. These ethical dilemmas include materials like wool and down. For all my readers out there, I'd like you to go to your closet and pull out one of your jackets. If you notice wool trimming on the ends of the jacket, an animal suffered for your piece of clothing. Oh shit. I got leather jackets, I'm sorry. They're vintage. I got them vintage. Vintage leather jackets. Animal abuse in clothing not only affects the lives of animals who are killed, but also those who are not killed. If you notice the wool trimming on the ends of the jacket, an animal suffered for your piece. I just reread that because I'm feeling guilty. Even if the animal was not killed for its wool, it endured mental abuse as it could have experienced blood loss, shock, or dehydration. I'm sorry. The mistreatment of animals in wool and down production highlights the cruelty in fashion and traditional fashion. It is only one part of the unsustainable practices. Fast fashion and a high cost are the biggest barriers in making ethical fashion mainstream, and Kogi claims that people should be looking for quality over quantity. For those of you who may not be familiar with this topic, fast fashion is a mass production of clothing using low quality and unsustainable materials, which produces inexpensive clothing. The fast fashion brand that should immediately come to your mind is Shein, although many other more expensive brands are fast fashion too. These clothes are meant to keep up with trends and are quickly thrown away, creating a lot of environmental waste. As soon as people start valuing quality over quantity, fast fashion will exponentially decrease. The good news is that Huron is already starting to create a culture of animal ethics through the new animal ethics program, as well as the start of a student initiative. We also have the fashion show, which is a great way to influence others to purchase green clothing. This is effective not only at Huron, but all around the world. If fashion shows normalize ethical fashion by having models who refuse to wear unsustainable fashion, Kogi and I believe that it can positively influence others. As consumers, we have the responsibility of choosing between genuine and ethical fashion brands and greenwashing. Do you know where companies are sourcing their materials? Do they have vague or ambiguous claims? Do they have any certifications? These are all questions you can be answering by doing research on the organization. Don't necessarily trust a product because it says quote-unquote green. This isn't clear on exactly how they are clear and could be greenwashing marketing claims. That said, not everything they say green that says green is falsely advertised. However, if you want to be as sustainable as possible, you should do your own research before purchasing. Individuals can make small but impactful steps to align their wardrobe with ethical principles. For example, Kogi does most of their shopping by thrifting for secondhand clothing. They take a step further and look for sustainable brands that are humane. But what exactly does it mean to be sustainable? The United Nations defines sustainability as meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. This means that sustainable fashion is fashion that is mindful of social, economic, and environmental factors. For instance, brands that don't endanger future generations of animals are sustainable. As consumers, we have more power than we think. Every purchase we make has an impact on the environment. By supporting ethical fashion, we can create a world that values animals, explore brands that prioritize animal welfare, and educate yourself about materials and the supply chain. Next time you go shopping, try going thrifting. You'd be surprised at how many great clothes you can find. Together, we can make the future brighter and safer for us, animals, and the planet. I cannot read today, like always. The words are getting jumbled in my head. But that was a good article. I really respect the efforts of Huron College to have this ethical fashion association, that they're making this magazine, that there's like people being interviewed, giving information about how animal welfare and fashion is like integrated. I randomly found this magazine on LinkedIn by a student that wrote one of the articles, and I was just like so impressed. They do have an Instagram account. It's called Huron Ethical Fashion Association. And I don't remember if I follow them, but they're such great. Oh, this is Indeed, not Instagram. It's such a great little small, I guess, like ethical fashion club, you can describe it. And they're in Canada, which is cool. Did I follow them? Yes. Providing Western students with knowledge and opportunities in the ethical fashion industry. Super cool. Super cool. Totally respect it. And they just launched a magazine, so that was so nice. I kind of want to interview them, not gonna lie. They've been at it. Like, they've had like clothing swaps. This is their team. It seems very like well laid out. Like, they have a whole leadership system going. So I am hopeful that this can continue in more colleges and universities. Such a great initiative. Okay, so another news that I saw is from an organization that I really respect and I have actually volunteered with. And they created something called Our Common Market and produced what I can call a report. The report is called, if it will load, the How to Build Fashion Alternatives. And the new report provides lessons and guidance for community-based fashion, clothing, and textile initiatives. I think I downloaded this already. Oh, I do not want to show you my full download history because I'm working on like projects and they're kind of confidential. But basically this is what they're talking about, and they're saying it's like a North Star for alternative clothing systems in Europe and beyond. The earphone is glitching in my ear. But yeah, I saw this be an effort created by Fashion Act Now for some time. And basically the report says it encapsulates key insights and learnings from the first year of Our Common Market. The information shared here has been carefully and lovingly harvested from community assemblies involving participants from across the globe. And basically it aims to propose the idea that fashion, clothing, and textile commons can replace much of the current fashion industry. We hope it provides some definition of possible avenues for such a transformation within a European context. So basically explain what the commons are, what the developments are in terms of like a degrowth future and how to get there basically. So I may just like read a chapter of this in every live stream because I cannot possibly read 26 pages today. But it says, when times are demanding, when life is raw and full speed, we have two options. The first is to zone out, isolate ourselves, and completely shut down, or to revolt, rebel, and make a choice to build something better. And I think that choice is clear. By Ivana Biosina, Assembly for Fashion Commons at the Global Fashioning Assembly 2024. And then the executive statement says, let me zoom in. If I zoom in too much, you can't see it because of my freaking camera. Okay. It says, let me pop that open. Can you see? Okay, it says, Westfall 2024 has been the hottest year on record, with floods, fires, and droughts increasing a sense of insecurity. The European landscape has been one of division and polarization. During this year, activist group Fashion Act Now has been exploring the concept of quote-unquote fashion, clothing, and textile commons as well, which encompasses diverse and relational systems. The commons demonstrates the logic of degrowth and anti-capitalism without needing to engage in ideological, conceptual, and economic thinking. We see commons as a way to build solidarity across political divides, uniting people around practical, common sense answers and shared heritage. This report outlines what is needed to help those commons flourish. We found that while these commons exist all around us, they are often fragmented, erased, eroded, and ignored, struggling in isolation against the weight of the capitalist fashion system. Funding is the most referenced challenge that communities, projects, and enterprises face. They also struggle to ensure thriving livelihoods while opting out of growth-based markets and extraction. There is much demand for more education and knowledge sharing, especially in open access and non-hierarchical learning spaces. This report approaches this topic from a European context, advocates for localized clothing cultures in Europe that should not be escapist, but build alliances with groups in the global south and fight for environmental and social justice. We hope this report helps Commons find a way that is inclusive and diverse. We hope it contributes to systemic transformations that help resilient communities living in harmony with nature and each other. Okay, what type of ancestors do we want to be for future generations? That's a very interesting question. Okay, good question. What are the commons? We're just going to read this page. Yeah. Because I have more stuff to read or cover, things to cover. Yeah. Okay, so it says the commons is a paradigm that combines a distinctive community with a set of social practices, values, and norms that are used to manage a resource. In other words, commons is a resource and a community set of social protocols. They are integrated, interdependent, and whole. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It says there's a lot of wisdom to be found all over the world. It says understanding the relationships that bind communities together, collectively manage and owned fiber systems, textiles, skills, knowledge, and cultural practices, resources that are accessible by all members of the commons. Clothing is made by the people for the people. Cool. In a business as usual scenario, the apparel industry's climate impact is expected to increase by 49% by 2030. The environmental impact of textiles. So much waste. So much waste. Dang. The fashion industry is a $1.79 trillion industry that employs at least 1 in 8 people around the world. It has generated the fortunes of some of the wealthiest billionaires, while garment workers earn on average 45% less they need to survive. Garment production involves slavery, the exploitation and slaughter of animals, and huge environmental costs as the norm. Fashion displays relevance, compliance, and contribution in the capitalist system and an ethos of competition. Styles of clothing changes rapidly to increase the rate of consumption so that those who own the means of production are able to increase their profits. Profits are accumulated through extracting labor, natural resources, and intellectual property for free or below the true cost. Globalized markets have enabled an exchange of goods with little to no social bond. This has led to a world dominated by one complex global clothing system with opaque supply chains. Promise to green the fashion industry are based largely on efficiencies, but those are often rebounded to more growth, more improvements, which fall under what is necessary. While amongst all fashion brands talk of using recycled fibers, the percentage of recycled synthetics has decreased as reported by Textile Exchange in their 2023 report, while the use of virgin polyesters increased. They call the standard fashion industry big fashion, and they're saying it's like fundamentally exploitative, and pushes forward the idea that fashion, clothing, and textile commons are part of a degrowth society and economy. It advocates for vibrant, pluriverse of alternative fashion systems, the small f fashion. It is called for decolonization, changing our relationality with people and nature, and decoupling of our clothing culture from growth. Hopefully we can get there, honestly. I'm a huge fan of this work. I actually did a blog article explaining what Earth Logic is. If you look at my blog, it's called Sustainable Amor. And I did a breakdown of what Earth Logic and fashion by Kate Fletcher is all about. I think I released it a year ago. Or is it? It's over here somewhere. I've written so many articles, I can't even find my own article that I'm talking about. I broke it down. Nope. Where is it? I should have just Googled it, huh? Oh, okay, so the Earth Logic Manifesto, Rethinking Fashion for a Sustainable Future, wrote this back in March 2023. It basically explains Kate Fletcher's and Mathilda Tham's Urge Logic Manifesto that is basically connected to the fashion industry, which is an idea that they want to transform the system, the fashion system. Sorry, I drank too much soda and my voice is leaving now, but if you want to learn how you can combine Earth Logic within the fast fashion world, this article will be a breakdown of what is being talked about in this report. It's basically connecting the idea of degrowth with like environmental limitations and how it connects to the fashion industry. The common market is something that I've seen grow and be improved upon. I really am excited to see where they go, because it's trying to build a translocal digital commons to unearth, explore, connect, and support diverse clothing communities, demonstrating regenerative practices from across the world. Our goal is to contribute to the visibility and viability of alternative systems and encourages participation in them. So I really love this. I will certainly explore and read this. I do have these 2 articles to read now, so I probably will print them out. Guys, I also cut myself accidentally on the cheek and it's starting to hurt. But in the sake of time, I'm going to move on from those 2 reports and move into how I saw that 4,000 workers are faced with a threat of arrest when they protested in 2023 for, fighting for living wages as they were employed by H&M and Zara. So the Clean Clothes campaign made an Instagram post that was really informative. It says, brands, capitalism breeds diversity and innovation, and also brands just doing the least. But to read the caption, it says, in 2013, H&M pledged it would pay garment workers a living wage by 2019. It's 2025 and 0 garment workers in H&M supply chain are earning a living wage. Instead, H&M criminalizes those who dare to protest against poverty wages. 30,000 workers are still facing charges for protesting in 2023. H&M and Zara have the power to get these changes dropped, but they're dragging their feet. Your likes, shares, and engagement have already freed more than 4,000 workers from the threat of arrest, but it's time to step up. Help us spam H&M's sustainability team's inboxes and join our email action now. And it says, exploiting vulnerable workers, H&M, Zara, government's keeping national wages low. Oh my gosh, sweat jar. Fashion can only be sustainable with living wages for garment workers. I so agree. Me every day. I act okay, but deep down I need living wages for garment workers. Profits, H&M. Worker wages, H&M. Celebrity endorsements. That's so true. Watching the reaction to Charlie XCX's collaboration with H&M. Was there a collaboration between them? No. No, really? Was this the one in September? Dang. Oh no. Dang, okay. I see. But H&M comes out with a new sustainability initiative. Why are you so obsessed with me? Oh my gosh. At least 6,000 Bangladeshi workers in Zara and H&M factories are still facing charges for protesting poverty wages. Link in bio to demand that the charges are dropped. I love Clean Clothes campaign. They do so good. Wait, how? $939 have sent an email. I'm gonna put my name on here. It's that simple. They create the email for you. Says, in an industry where unions repression is rife, getting the cases dropped is just the first but necessary step to an industry where workers can live a decent life off their wages, in which barriers to freedom of association are taken down. We won't live in fear. We are calling for living wages to support our families. Kalpana Akhter, president of the Bangladesh Garment and Industrial Workers Federation. Nice. Okay, sign that. Wait, what's their story like? Lessons in woke washing. Feet brands who wouldn't give a heck about social justice. Woke washing. Posing as a progressive or ethical brand while your core business model thrives on work exploitation. Celebrate women on the runway, not in your supply chain. Prioritize sponsorships, deprioritize worker rights. Claim to democratize fashion, repress basic worker rights. Pretend you care about women, only care about a few. But yeah, it's sad that these brands are not doing much, to be honest. They're just saying that they do stuff, but they actually don't. It's actually sad. Okay, so one of the last things that I wanted to take a look at was how the White House literally shut down the environmental pages. There's like no climate change websites anymore. And I'm sad about it. This is what we've come to, honestly. national energy emergency is where we're at, it seems like. It's just crazy. I don't know how we got here in the first place. There's also been a lot of like anti-Latino sentiment lately. There's some TikToks I've seen that I want to show you guys, where you guys are gonna see all my messages. I don't even know what people comment. I don't even look at my own notifications. But I send the TikToks to myself. Let me pull up some TikToks about the immigration issues that I've seen. Oh no, did I just report the TikTok I wanted you to see? Okay. No, this is not it. Is this it? Okay, yeah, this is it.
That's
says
fucking Border Patrol. That is so fucked.
It literally says be on the lookout for ice cream trucks. It's freaking insane, dude. They even play music to get people to come outside. So ICE has put themselves into seemingly ice cream trucks to get people to detain and deport.
That's fucking Border Patrol. That is so fucked.
That's crazy. The level of deception in that is crazy. Like, this is where we've arrived to in our society. It's so sad. And then this is what's happening in Chicago.
Enforcement agents.
What?
Today, immigration and customs enforcement agents showed up at Hemline Elementary School. School staff followed CPS established protocols. They kept ICE agents outside of the school and contacted CPS's Law Department and CPS's Office of Safety and Security for further guidance. The ICE agents were not allowed into the school and were not permitted to speak to any students or staff members.
The audacity of these people to go to schools. If it wasn't for these staff people really caring and trying to keep them out of the school, can you imagine the devastation that would have happened today? The cruelty and the racism, and honestly just like this sentiment of like going to schools where kids are at, it's so insidious. I just cannot get that out of my head. It's all of this is so evil.
Members. Here is the bottom line. Our students and staff are safe. Our protocols were followed. CPS will continue to protect our students and their families. In alignment with the Illinois Trust Act and Chicago's Welcoming City Ordinance, CPS does not ask for our family's immigration status. We will not coordinate with immigration and custom enforcement agents. Does not share student records with ICE, except in the rare case where there is a court order or consent from a parent or a guardian. We will not allow ICE agents access to CPS facilities unless they produce a criminal judicial warrant signed by a federal judge. And we will not admit ICE agents into our school based upon an administrative warrant, an ICE detainer, or other document issued by an agency enforcing civil immigration laws.
Man, ICE, baby. This is crazy. Oh, I forgot I saw this. Wait. Oh my god. Okay. I just needed, to show that. Yeah, that's basically what I wanted to show in terms of TikToks. It's crazy how ICE is just, getting more cruel than ever before. It's a tough time that we're living in. It really is. I actually kind of wanted to see this YouTube
I chose
video.
Wix for...
No. It's a documentary about the death of American garment workers. I probably will watch the last 20 minutes, watch it for the last 20 minutes, and then jump out.
Fashion today is a global spectator sport. Everybody is interested in fashion. Everybody gets to have a slice of it. You can buy clothes anywhere, any time of the day, at any price point. But what people are finding is that where clothes are made, how they're made, is actually very interesting.
At the peak of business here in New York City, I was working with about 20 factories on a daily basis. Now we work with around 10 to 15 factories on a daily basis.
We're faced with a big problem. How can we make enough goods for our growing population that will be affordable and well made? How can we do that here back in the United States?
Everything was made here. Now we get everything from them. Nothing is made here.
The manufacturing just disintegrated.
When these individuals died, there was no one to fill their places. And we lost that industry of factories.
It isn't possible that I can sit in my office here and design something and email it over to China and get it the right way.
Too many clients, because they can't affect an immediate change, are afraid to make any change that's too drastic for fear of, well, what if overseas doesn't do it right? How is that going to look in the long run?
All the workers overseas, I felt sick over it. I decided to now open my own business domestically to try and bring back the domestic production here in America.
We made an effort to work locally because it's quicker, because it's more convenient, and I think this collection, I hope, will show that it could be also very luxurious. And it's not always have to be made in Paris or in Italy or those things.
To bring, production values back to America would be great. It'd be easier to maintain and handle. If things don't come back right, we can just go right in the back of them and do it.
It's critical that we realize there are 26 million people out of work or underemployed.
I came to New York as 4 years old to be a flower girl at my aunt and uncle's wedding. And I remember saying to my parents at the end of the trip, when I grow up, I'm moving to New York and I'm going to be a fashion designer. I don't know how I got the idea of fashion designer, but I think really what it was, like, I loved the glamour of the wedding, watching my aunt and all her sisters getting dressed up, seeing all the big department stores, and probably I had seen something on TV where there was a designer that had gone on some talk show in the afternoon and started draping beautiful fabrics around a mannequin and going out to a glamorous lunch or something. So I thought, like, that was the job I wanted.
You didn't accept and you didn't verbalize the fact that you were attracted to fashion when you come from a very conservative but loving Italian-American family. Catholic family, and where the son should pursue a career in medicine or law. I don't remember exactly when, but it caught me, and I began sketching. I couldn't sketch, I taught myself. I began buying fabric or my mother's sheets, and I cut them up and draped on my sister, and then sat down at sewing machines and began sewing.
People are always astonished. They think I know so much about lots of subjects. But I was a student of homemaking. I was a student of cooking. I was a student of gardening. In addition to English and architecture and Latin and French, I learned all the homely arts. I had a mother who was very, very insistent that we learned how to do everything around the house. My dad also was insistent that we learned how to do plumbing and gardening and carpentry. All of those things really do help you in your future occupations if you so choose.
When I was young, if you wanted something, you made it yourself. That was where I started out, and I also used to do that. When I wanted a satin jockey jacket from Mr. Freedom, During the glam rock era, I couldn't afford that, so I whipped out the Singer sewing machine and made it myself.
I ended up in the clothing business because my grandfather and my father were in the clothing business, and my grandfather started his business in 1910, and my dad went to work after the war, and I then started working for my dad when I was 19 years old.
I grew up in Brooklyn. My dad and both of his brothers worked in the garment center. Watching the energy in the street, the rolls of fabrics, the push carts with all the garments hanging that were being shipped from the factories that were in that district. It's what actually turned me on and wound up leading my career through my life to being in this industry.
I came to the United States in February of '61. At that time I had about $700 in my pocket with a wife. My son Oscar was 1 year old. I didn't have any idea how I was going to make a living and maintain the family.
You know, you have the history of my grandfather who came over when he was 13 as a tailor and brought the rest of his family over and bought a house and educated his children.
I'm a first-generation American. Both my parents are immigrants to the U.S. My mom immigrated from the Azores, and my dad came from France, both in the 1950s. And my dad was a chef, and my mom was a dressmaker.
I was the only survivor of my family. It was a huge family. In Pavlovo, in the Carpathian Mountains in Czechoslovakia. When I was taken to concentration camp, I was about 13 and a half years old. My father didn't want to be with me together. He said, together we'll never survive. My father was shot a week before the liberation because he was in charge of building a bridge for them. They called for a tailor, he put my name number. I know nothing about tailoring. I know nothing about nothing. I was a kid.
When I was 12 years old and I went to my first disco, and it was in the town hall, Bournemouth Town Hall, which sounds a little bit parochial, but actually it was about 250,000 people in the town, so it was reasonably big. And I remember...
Oh no, there's a copyright strike on this very live stream. Is it this documentary? What did I do? Was it this? Am I still live? Am I still live?